She wasn't supposed to be on that stage. One stolen microphone changed music history forever. There was no women in the band. Ike Turner had made that clear. The Kings of Rhythm were his band, his rules, his stage, and a 17-year-old girl sitting in the audience was not part of the plan. She had asked more than once. Her sister's boyfriend, the band's drummer, had promised to talk to Ike about it. Ike had said yes in the easy way people say yes to things they have no intention of doing. He never followed through. So one night during intermission at a club in East St. Louis, Anna Mae Bullock did something nobody gave her permission to do. She walked up. She took the microphone, and she started to sing. To understand what that microphone meant, you have to understand who was holding it. Anna Mae Bullock had not had an easy path to that club. Born in Nutbush, Tennessee, to sharecropper parents who picked cotton alongside their children, abandoned at different points by both her mother and her father, raised mostly by grandmothers, shuffled between towns, surviving the kind of childhood that teaches you early not to expect things to be given to you. By 16, she had moved to St. Louis to live with her mother and a sister, Aline. And St. Louis in the mid-1950s was alive with music. Rhythm and blues poured out of every club on the east side of the river. The sound was raw, electric, unlike anything she'd heard in church choirs back in Tennessee. Her sister Aline started dating a drummer named Eugene "Gene" Washington. Washington played in a band led by a sharp, ambitious guitarist named Ike Turner, the Kings of Rhythm. Anna Mae went to see them perform at the Club Manhattan. She would later describe watching Ike play as something close to a trance. She started going back, week after week, standing in the crowd, watching a band she desperately wanted to be part of. She asked to join, through Alan, through Gene, through anyone who might have Ike's ear. Ike said sure, eventually he'd find a spot for her. He never did. Years later, Tina would offer her own theory about why. She believed Ike preferred curvier women, performers with a certain look that fit the image he had in mind for his band. She was skinny, 17. Not what he was picturing when he imagined a singer standing next to his guitar. So she did what she had learned to do her entire life, in a childhood defined by people who didn't show up for her the way they were supposed to. She stopped waiting for permission. The exact night isn't precisely documented. Sometime in 1956 or 1957, at the Club Manhattan in East St. Louis. The Kings of Rhythm were taking their intermission break. Band members would later recall that during breaks, musicians sometimes let people from the crowd take the mic for a song or two. A casual, low-stakes tradition, nothing anyone took too seriously. The band's drummer, Eugene Washington, was near the equipment. Anna Mae walked up to him. She asked for the microphone. This time, she didn't wait for an answer to travel through 3 other people first. She asked directly. He handed it to her. She chose a song, "You Know I Love You," a blues ballad by B.B. King, a song she had loved since childhood, something she'd been singing quietly to herself for years, without an audience that mattered. She opened her mouth, and the entire room went still. Ike Turner was at the bar, or backstage, or somewhere in the building not paying particular attention to whatever was happening during the band's break. Then he heard it. A voice, deep, raw, enormous, coming from a microphone that should have had nobody important behind it. He turned. He saw a 17-year-old girl he had been actively ignoring for months, standing under the stage lights, singing B.B. King, like she'd been doing it her entire life. He didn't interrupt her. He let her finish. When the song ended, the room erupted. Ike Turner walked over. He didn't apologize for the months of being ignored. He simply said, "Sing another one." She did. She sang for the rest of the set. By the time the night ended, Ike Turner had a new singer in the Kings of Rhythm. It would be easy to tell this story as a simple Cinderella moment. Girl seizes opportunity, gets discovered, becomes a star. And in some ways, that's true. But it's worth sitting for a moment with what that microphone actually represented. For months, Anna Mae Bullock had asked, politely through proper channels, for a chance. She had waited. She had been overlooked. She had been told implicitly that she didn't have the right look, the right body, the right qualifications to stand where she wanted to stand. And the moment that changed everything wasn't a moment of patience finally rewarded. It was a moment of taking something nobody was going to give her. She didn't ask permission that night. She picked up the microphone herself. That instinct, the refusal to wait for someone else's approval, would define the rest of her life. It's the same instinct that, 20 years later, would have her crossing a Dallas highway in the middle of the night with 36 cents in her pocket, choosing her own life over everything Ike Turner controlled. The girl who took the microphone without asking became the woman who took her name back without asking either. There's a version of this story where Ike Turner finally got around to giving Anna Mae Bullock a chance, where the drummer's promise eventually got through, where she waited long enough and the door opened for her properly. That's not what happened. What happened is that a teenage girl, tired of being overlooked, walked up during a band's break and took what she wanted. 66 years later, when the world said goodbye to Tina Turner, they remembered the stadiums, the Grammys, the Voice. But it all started with a girl who refused to keep waiting in the audience. She didn't ask for the microphone. She took it. And the world has been listening ever since. Subscribe to Tina Turner Untold. Every week, I go back to the moments that built the legend, the ones the world almost never heard about. Next week, another untold story.